Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So today we're checking out a couple of products sent out to me by Belkin. So this is a couple of their sort of clear cases. Obviously the one on the left is definitely clear. This one's more of a smoke clear, but looking at the packaging, they do also appear to be different sort of protection levels as well. So this one's marked as being up to 2 meters drop protection, and this one's marked as being 4 meters of drop protection. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at the lesser one first. So this is their Sheer Force Grip series, and as you can see, it says 6.6 feet or 2 meters military standard drop tested. Okay, so taking it out of the sleeve, you can see the actual case just there. Let's see if we get anything else with it. No, not in this one. It is all paper or cardboard, so this is in theory all recyclable. Take a look at the case itself. So first thing, you have a sort of hard shell back. It's not fully hard, it is still a little bit flexible, but the sides are more rubbery and a lot more sort of TPU material. We do have covers on all of the buttons by the looks of it. So you do have the power button just there, which is semi-floating, I would say. It has a tiny little bit of travel, but not as much as some that I've seen. We do have a camera control cover just there, and taking a look at the inside of that camera control, you can see it has a sort of rubbery material over the inside, so won't do any damage to the actual glass or the ceramic on the phone itself. We have the cutouts on that side, a little bit of Belkin branding just there. We do have a sort of grooved pattern all around, and then same thing for your 3 buttons on this side as well, so semi-floating. I think these ones have a little bit more travel from the feel of it, but I'll see once I actually get the phone in. Along the top we do have a cutout, so the rest of this front all looks like it wraps around, whereas around the earpiece speaker we do have a cutout, so hopefully that should allow the sound through a little bit better. We do have full MagSafe, and this is sort of inlaid, so hopefully it shouldn't pop off if you do twist the case whilst removing it. In terms of the finish, so you can almost feel the case is actually so thin that you can almost feel the sort of MagSafe on the outside of it. And we do have a pretty sizable chunky sort of lip on the actual camera bump as well. Let's get this thrown on the phone and take a look. Okay, so yeah, that's what I was predicting. So by having this lip around the whole phone, around the front of the phone I should say, it does mean that the earpiece is the only part that is actually exposed, and the rest of it is all kind of covered up. Buttons wise, we do have some decent tactile click from all your normal buttons, and in terms of your camera control, you can see it does load up just there, and it does zoom in and zoom out perfectly fine as well. So camera control is working perfectly fine. Now just on the actual case itself, so it does have a sizable lip all around, so you are getting lay on the table coverage. However, it will make it a little bit more difficult to basically dig in around the sort of the bottom of the screen, so when you're swiping and doing your gestures. If you don't have a screen protector, I do have a pretty sizable chunky screen protector on it at the moment. If you don't, you are going to have to dig in quite a bit in order to do anything at the bottom of the actual phone. In terms of the look, it's very similar to some of the other smoked cases that I've reviewed on the channel already. So because I've got the silver color, you're getting that bright white, so you are getting some of the details showing through on the outside of the actual phone itself. Grip wise, it is pretty good. So I would say the back is obviously a sort of polycarbonate kind of material, so that's not very grippy at all, and it does have a almost matte kind of coating onto it. So yeah, that's not very grippy at all, but the sides are very grippy. Yeah, even the camera bump, it feels more like a sort of hard rubber rather than being a metal or a plastic, so that in itself should actually grip whatever surface you're putting this on. So in terms of your ports, everything is open. You won't get really chunky USB-C cables in there, but most USB-C cables should be fine. As you guys have seen, I am doing a MagSafe test on all the cases that I'm testing now, just to get an idea in terms of how well they actually do. Now one thing I am noticing is there is a little bit of hollowness behind the case, so when you're pulling it off a MagSafe accessory, you can almost feel like the whole back flexing in and out slightly, and that might be down to the fact that I pointed out before that this back casing seems so thin that you can almost feel the MagSafe magnets. In fact, you can. Yeah, even with the case on the phone, you can still feel the MagSafe magnets, but the strength of the magnets themselves is perfectly fine. Yeah, it's going to need something quite excessive to actually come off, so it should be perfectly fine with car chargers and other accessories like that. Overall, this case is not too bulky, I would say. And obviously if you're going off the actual drop ratings, then you're adding 2 meters of drop protection with not much bulk. Overall, I would say this is quite nice in terms of adding protection whilst not increasing the actual footprint of the phone too much. Okay, so now we'll take a look at the Sheer Force Clear series. So this one is rated for 13 foot or 4 meters of drop protection. Okay, so this one is their more clear series, and straight away you can tell that this is chunkier. So in terms of the case itself, you can see the MagSafe there. Now this one is definitely thicker. You can't feel any of the magnets on the outside. This is also much firmer as well. So whereas this one, you can see it flexes, this one is a sort of solid material on the back, and the sides are actually a lot chunkier as well. In terms of your buttons, so taking a look, so these are fully covered buttons on all of them. We do have a little bit of a shape to each one, so in theory the phone buttons will actually fit inside these. So we'll check the tactile feedback in a second. A little bit of Belkin branding just there, and this is also grooved as well, so this actually digs in, so you've got somewhere to actually grip the case from. In terms of your camera control, you do have a full button just there, and the inside of it is more of a sort of plasticky material, maybe a ceramic or something, but it's smooth, so you're not going to get no scratches on it or anything. But I think this one will actually be more tactile than the other case that I've just shown. In terms of the design, it's very similar to the other one, so we are getting a wraparound over the front of the screen, apart from this section here where you have a little bit of a cutout, a little bit of branding on the actual MagSafe magnet on the inside as well. So overall quite a clean case in terms of minimal branding, apart from that very bottom corner just there. Putting the phone in the case, so yeah, you can see all the front of it is covered apart from the earpiece speaker just there along the top. In terms of your buttons, a little mushy, so they're not as tactile as the other one, and we are getting a little bit of mush just on those. They do still click, so you are still getting a tactile feedback, but they're definitely softer and mushier compared to the other one. In terms of camera control, this one works, I'd say, just about as good. Now, the one thing I do actually prefer about this one in terms of my daily usage is that is slightly indented. So whereas this one is almost flush with the side of the case, this one is slightly further in just because it's a chunkier case, and that means that hopefully for me I won't accidentally trigger it too often. In terms of the back of the phone, so this is where you're getting that strange Apple logo cut out this year, just because they changed the actual location of the logo as opposed to the magnets. So the magnets are still at the top, whereas the logo is lower. In terms of your camera bump, you are getting some decent protection and everything is covered. In terms of MagSafe, so the strength is decent, I would say. Just because of the weight of this case, I'd say this is actually weaker in terms of how well it actually holds on. So with the other case, I had to shake it a lot more than this to get it to drop off, which is strange because this is a shiny material, and normally when you have a sort of rubbery material onto that, it normally grips a little bit better compared to these sort of matte cases where they tend to be quite slippery. I think simply because of the weight of this case, it adds bulk, and that means that it will actually come off a little bit easier. But in itself, it is actually still fine. So it's not as strong as this, but it's not weak either. So it's not, I wouldn't be worried about it, but it's definitely not as strong as some that I have tested. Okay, so overall for this one, I would say your pros are basically the look. So you are being able to see the actual color of the phone, you're being able to see the design. I think the camera control button on this is pretty good and works really well. The downsides for me on this one is the buttons. So the buttons are a little mushy on this. They still click perfectly fine, and yeah, everything works. It's just they're not as tactile as the other case. And that's to be expected because these are floating buttons, whereas with this one being a sealed off sort of silicone material, you're never going to get that same feel. What I do also like is this groove that they have going all the way along the sides, on both sides, because that gives you somewhere to actually dig in and grip the case from. Over time, I think you may end up picking up quite a lot of fingerprints on this, but I think it should wipe clear quite easily. So between these two, the Clear series and the Grip series, I would actually prefer the Grip series. I'm not sure if you could actually get this in a more clear sort of finish just because of the buttons on this one. But in terms of clear cases, and just the aesthetic of having that white magnet and the white button, I think they do work really well with the silver phone because you are also getting the white back as well. Okay, so that is the Sheer Force series from Belkin. So we do have the Clear series as well as the Grip series for the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Questions about either one of these, drop them down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the future videos. And I'd really appreciate if you can also give this video a thumbs up as well. And until the next one, thanks very much for watching.